Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning, July 26, 2023, and we get together with our distribution partners and clients now, most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. So I won't be redundant on our conversation yesterday, but yesterday we launched the branch office distribution model. And you can certainly go to guaranteedfunding.org, go to the partners page. I know this says credit and funding, but go to the partners page and you can listen to yesterday's training if you missed it to understand. Just in summary, what we're doing is providing a different way to work together, whereby you're going out to the marketplace under your branding, under your umbrella. Clients contract with you directly, they pay you directly, and we're the guys in the back room doing all the work. And we just split the revenue 50-50. So it's more profitable for you, but it's more involving because you're the client interface. What's great, though, as stated here from yesterday's training, is since you're actually the contracting party with the client, you're able to control what you want the clients to pay. You control the contractual terms. You decide if you just want to let them go, just let them go. If they want to quit, they want to quit, so forth. It includes the same proposition as our credit and funding program has. So the program is not a bit different. It's just the delivery. But that's not our conversation today. What is our conversation today is the refundable setup fee. So under the branch model, we know that you can select whatever price you want to charge the client for the refundable setup fee, as shown here from yesterday's agenda and as we've discussed yesterday. I can't say that. Yesterday, we had several clients enrolled by our new branch managers already. And I'm thinking back that the average price that we see being charged to the client is actually $2,500, $2,500. So again, it's a 50-50 split. So in that case, the branch made $1,250 and we made $1,250. The point is, with the refundable setup fee, you can choose whatever it is you want the client to pay, but we just know that there's a floor because we need to have enough to cover our cost of providing the scope of services. So the topic today is about financing of that, because if the client doesn't have the amount that you're asking them to pay, then what do we do? Well, we can arrange financing for them. So that is actually our topic today. So any of you that have signed up as a branch owner, then you will support you in this process, of course. But the initial step is you get the client under contract with you. We'll, of course, provide you, as we talked about over here yesterday, we'll provide you the client agreement. And then you can make whatever changes that you want to that client agreement, including the pricing. But step one is always getting the client under agreement. Now we're to the point for today. So let's say you've got a client under agreement and they don't have the funding or the liquidity or the willingness to pay the refundable setup fee that you've chosen to charge them. What do we do then? Well, what we could do is get them financing. So again, if you're a branch owner, then you'll have an editable version of this application, which we're going to go through now. So you'll have an editable version. This is a PDF. In other words, you'll have a Word version that you can go in and change it and mark it up with your branding if you want. But the point most specifically today is to talk about what information we need to get financing options for your clients for the refundable setup fee. When we go through this process, we're actually looking for their first tranche of capital, which may be quite a bit more than what they owe you. So again, I don't know how much they're going to owe you. You pick what your refundable setup fee is. And again, we talked about we split it 50-50, but let's just assume you're going with the norm. So you're asking them to pay essentially $2,000 as a setup fee. You keep half, we keep half, or you send us half. And so if they don't have that or they want to finance it, you'll have an editable version of this. You'll have them complete the application. And of course, there's going to be forms. It's not just a blank. You'll set it up with Adobe or DocuSign or what have you. So you'll have the client complete this, and then you'll forward it to us, and then we can get financing offers for the client. And in many cases, not only will they get enough to cover the refundable setup fee, they'll end up having extra working capital as well. Well, that's great, right? Because now from the get-go, from the beginning of the relationship with the client, they're already getting an injection of funding, even before we've done any work on credit or what have you. So let's talk about the structure of this application. Again, you will receive this in an editable Word format, so you can change it, but there's some things you need to know before you change it. That's why we're having this conversation today. So as far as the layout, there are two main sections of this funding proposal application. Again, you could put your logo, you could change the name, it doesn't matter. But the business information, and then the key person information. For the business information, we don't need this. We don't have to have it. So what do I mean by that? So if they don't have some of this information, or they don't know it, or they don't have a business, or they're pre-formation, that's okay. The more data we have, the more funding options we can arrange for quotes from or offers from, but it's okay. So that's exactly why it says optional. So any of this that they have is helpful, but if they have none of it or some of it, it's okay. So the name of the business, when the business officially started, the EIN, the business address that's on record with the state, Secretary of State, what type of address do they have? Is it residential, post office box, what have you? What's their business phone? What's their business website? How much are they putting in the bank on average per month over the past 3 months? And if they have a Paydex score and if they know it. So again, so if you're a branch owner and you have a client that wants to finance the refundable setup fee, we will provide you this form in editable Word format. You can change it as you want. We're going through what is important and how it's set up, and that's the top half. So I think that's pretty clear. If they have this information, have them include it. If they don't, it's okay. Clear enough, right? Now on the bottom, it's not the same. Let me make this a bit smaller. We need all of this key person information to put into our system. So we have a system that we paid a lot of money for, that I guess you'd consider AI, artificial intelligence, but it has algorithms, right? So it's going through and looking to match people to the type of funding that the algorithms thinks that the individual would qualify for. No hard inquiries, doesn't commit them to anything, but it generates funding offers for them. So the key person information, which means the owner, is required. Now let's go through some common questions. What if there's more than one owner? Well, you could actually do a separate application for each owner. What if there is one owner that owns the majority of the company? Do we need applications from the other owners? If the other owners own 20% or more of the business, then we really should get an application from them as well. So let's go through what we're asking for in the key person information. Pretty obvious, I think. What's their first name? What's their last name? Title. So that means what's their title within the business? Are they the owner, the CEO, the CFO, corporate secretary, what have you? What is their cell phone number? Now, are we going to contact any of these people? No, we're not. Because see, that's the whole premise of the branch setup. You are communicating with the client. We're not communicating with the client. Their cell phone, their email, their home address, street address, home city, home state, home zip. in my world, I would prefer to make that all one line, but I see so often people won't read that carefully, so they'll give you some sort of bastardized data sets. We break those down. Now, some of these questions you might think, well, why is it important? Well, it literally is. Different types of different lenders have different underwriting criteria. So there's not a single answer, but it's good for you to know that some lenders look at some of these other variables that you might not have considered. For instance, home status. Do they rent? Do they own a house with a mortgage? Do they own a house but it's owned outright with no mortgage or other? So that question, you might think, why should that matter? It does. It does. So do they have to be a homeowner to get funding? Of course not. But what you and I are doing is looking at the credibility factors of the client and then matching them to the right type of funding. And it matters to some lenders. In general, in our society, individuals that own a home are considered more credible than people that rent. Now, that's not my opinion, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but from a financing perspective, that's a true generalization. But regardless of whatever, we're not going to answer it incorrectly, just trying to get the best possible profile. We need to answer it honestly. So that's home status. Education levels, another one you might think, why do we care about that? That shouldn't matter. You know, I've got a PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. Well, some lenders actually care about that. And so again, it is what it is. But we need to collect that because we may be asked that by the lenders, and it certainly goes into the AI system to create funding offers. Now, I will tell you that education is rarely validated. It's pretty much, if I could highlight that, pretty much always self-reported. So I'm not encouraging you or the client to fudge on any of this, but just to clarify, home status, you can't really fudge on, right? Because if you have a home with a mortgage, it's going to be probably reporting on your credit. If you own a house outright, it's going to be part of the public records. But education level is more on the honor system. So again, no implicit message there, but just so you understand. Self-reported credit score. As you know, if you're one of our branch owners, we are providing you a link and we're doing a soft credit pull to validate, because not everyone really knows what their credit scores are. Some people are just not clear. Sometimes people will be a little bit inaccurate purposefully. So this, granted, is self-reported, and it just gives us an initial barometer. Their social security number. Oh my God, why do we need their social security number? Well, they're coming to you for funding, right? If you're running a branch and someone has signed up with you for the credit and funding program, they are looking for funding. And the social security number is the unique identifier for people, just like the EIN is the unique identifier for business. So if they don't want to provide the social security number, that doesn't mean they can't participate in the credit and funding program, but that does mean that we're not going to be able to get them financing for the refundable deposit. We need all of this data set. This data set is optional, as it says. Okay, moving on down. So we had then driver's license number and state, their date of birth, total income, and pay frequency. So if you're one of our branch owners, again, we'll provide this to you in an editable format. You'll probably deliver it for an e-signature, e-completion, DocuSign, form stack, Adobe, or whatever you want. But then you'll put in a signature block here that's authorizing us to do. And you have the disclaimer, but this is the template form. So there would be a spot to put answers after each of these in your e-signature software, and then a signature block and date at the bottom. So who has any questions on either what we covered yesterday as we did the rollout of the branch office, or in terms of if you are running a branch office, what do we do in terms of getting the refundable setup fee financed, which is our topic today. All right, as usual, Timothy has the first question. So Timothy's asking about to what extent he should promote the fact that we can finance the refundable setup fee. Well, that's up to you, right? Because if you're a branch owner, it's your contract and your umbrella. Now, most of you would probably prefer the client to just pay outright, out of pocket, if they could and if they would. But if you want to lead with the fact, or at some point in the process make reference, hey, we can get you financing for that, you can. But in general, you would probably prefer that the client just pay you up front, because if they paid you up front, now we're digging in and doing work versus going around and hunting for money for their refundable setup fee. So in general, I wouldn't lead with the fact that financing is available unless you wanted to, because it just adds an extra step, but it's not a problem. All right. All right, so Sarah's got a question regarding this first tranche. So she's asking some specifics that I can't frankly answer. She's asking how much they're going to get. Well, we don't know. I mean, that's the point, Sarah. They're going to fill out this app. You're going to have them fill out this app. You're going to forward it to us. We're going to get you offers. We'll communicate that back to you. I don't know what offers they're going to get. You know, they might get a few, they might get many, they might get a lot, they might get a little. Everyone will get at least one offer, because remember the sequence we said. We don't go run funding offers for them for the setup fee plus additional working capital until they're under contract. And you might ask, well, why is that? Well, let's look at it in reverse. Let's take Pia. Pia is one of our new branch managers. She's on the training today. So let's say that Pia went out and a client said, okay, well, I want to see what funding I can get first before I sign up. And again, this wouldn't happen, but I'm explaining why one of the reasons we wouldn't want that to happen. So Pia's like, oh, okay. So she has them fill out this app, which she wouldn't do if they're not under contract. And she'd send it to us to process, which we wouldn't do if they're not under contract, but just hypothetically. So now let's say that client gets $60,000 of first tranche financing, which is obviously more than enough to pay Pia's refundable setup fee. Plus it puts a good amount of money, working capital, in the client's pocket. And now Pia is owed $6,000, 10% of that. But in that example, that client was never under contract. What is the obligation for that client to pay Pia anything? Nothing. Right? So we don't go do work for clients until they're under contract, because that states what they're expected to do. And then, of course, what you and I are expected to do. So we don't go hunting for funding for clients until they're under contract. All right, Eddie's got a good question. So what we're talking about right now is what we'd call the first tranche, the initial tranche. So the client signed up today, for example, client signed up today. Now, Eddie, they owe you, let's say you're using the normal pricing, they owe you $2,000. We'll just round off today. So it's day one. The client hasn't been with us. They've not gone through the credit sweep yet. They've not gone through the credit boost. We've not provided them collateral. We've not helped them with cash flow. They're on day one. So they're coming to us with their baseline information. All you and I can do on day one, Eddie, is ask them to fill out an app and let's see what they qualify for. It's not a reflection of you, Eddie, or me, or the program. It's where they're at now. So the number of offers and the terms and conditions, the payments, the interest rates, all of that, it's based upon their baseline information. So we've got over 40 different banks, lenders, alternative lenders, nonprofits, micro lenders that all participate in this consortium trying to help get people funding. But the terms are is whatever the individual qualifies for at their baseline. Now, obviously, what you and I are doing, Eddie, is helping them improve their credibility so they qualify for more money with better terms. Well, how do we do that? Well, the credit sweep and the credit boost and adding collateral and improving their cash flow, their liquidity. So that's the services we provide. But with that being said, the initial offers are going to be what the initial offers are based upon the riskiness of the individual. There's There's no way to game the system, right? When lenders are evaluating someone for funding, they're going to look at their credibility factors. Well, what you and I are doing is helping them improve their credibility factors, but that's not happened yet, right? In this context of this discussion, they're on day one trying to pay to get started. So with that being said, whatever the terms are, they qualify the terms. You and I are not making it better or worse for them. We're not marking up the interest rates. It is what it is that they qualify for. Now, of course, they don't have to accept any of these offers. So let's say that they sign up with you, Eddie. They owe you, for example, $2,000. They say, hey, they want to finance it. You have them fill this out. You get it to us. We run it. They get offers. They'll always get at least one offer, but most people get many offers. And let's say, Eddie, they say, I don't want any of those offers. Well, that's fine. That's your choice. If you don't want any of those offers, it's okay. Now, they still owe you the refundable setup fee, so we can go do the job we promised and make them more credible legally. But they don't have to accept offers that they don't like. Thank you for that question, Eddie. So who else has questions, comments, concerns? We can bounce back as we need to anything regarding the branch office model that we talked about yesterday, and/or we can talk about this process that, again, if you're just referring in, you don't have to worry about this. You're not hands-on. But if you own a branch, you are interfacing with the client. So you would have the client complete this. You'd get it to us. We'll get the offers. We'll communicate that to you. And then you interface with the client and you can advise them. You might say, hey, you got $60,000 of initial funding. Take it all right now. Take it, invest it in your business. We'll go build out your profile. You'll get more credible. And then we can finance out of that in 30, 60, 90 days. That's up to you. You can advise them the way you want. Our job is to fulfill our services, and our services to you are helping you with clients by being your back room, if you will, for the components of the credit and funding program. Okay, who else has questions? Thank you, Timothy, Sarah, and Eddie so far. Who else has questions on the branch office model, the concept, concerns? Albert's asking about geographic exclusivity. So no, we're not selling exclusive territories, so you don't have to worry about that. And the branch office is kind of a nomenclature. You don't have to have a physical office at all. It could be virtual. So it's not about that. So if you have a branch, you can help clients anywhere in the nation, frankly, anywhere in the world. You're not restricted. Samuel's asking about the funding. Yep. So we guarantee the funding, and that's in writing. Normally, it's a 30-day guarantee, but again, you're controlling the client agreement. But normally, what clients like, and we've talked about this on prior trainings, clients normally like no upfront cost. They like to pay after they see results, and they want results fast. So that's kind of the wish list of most clients. So if you wanted to follow that model, then of course, you would want to explain to them that their refundable setup fee doesn't need to be paid out of pocket, that it can be financed. And so you would be feeding everyone through the system, and that's fine. But those of you that are a little bit stronger closers are asking people to pay up front if they can and if they will, and then only if they don't do you go to financing. But it doesn't matter. Get them under contract. We'll support you either method. All right. Terry's asking a question about implementation. So yes, if you sign up as a branch owner, branch office, then what will happen is we'll send you an email that will be your onboarding. And part of that onboarding includes an editable Word version of the client agreement. And that's the first thing that you need to do to be open for business, is to take that editable client agreement. You can change whatever you want in terms of pricing and terms, but then get that into a format for e-signature. And we have team members here, not me individually, but we have team members that can help you get those agreements set up for e-signature. I know that we had helped one of our new branches yesterday, spent about an hour with him to get his client agreement set up, and he's literally already enrolling clients already. All right, well, we covered a lot. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.